You ever look at a massive skyscraper going up and just think, how? How are people working way up there so safely? Well, the secret isn't always in what's being built, but in the hidden structures that support the entire process. These temporary giants that do all the heavy lifting and then, poof, they vanish. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on these unsung heroes of construction. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture. What even is temporary construction? Then we'll break it down into the four main pillars: scaffolding, formwork, shoring, and underpinning. And listen, you're definitely going to want to stick around till the end because we're going to talk about exactly what you need to focus on for your exams. So what are we really talking about here? Well, think of it like this. Temporary construction is basically everything that's built to support a project that gets taken away once the main structure can stand on its own 2 feet. It's the invisible framework that makes the final permanent building possible. And for this whole deep dive, we're using Chapter 8 of the Building Technology textbook as our guide. Now, it defines these temporary works as structures that assist in and support a construction. But here's the thing. It's not enough for them to just be strong. They have to be super efficient, quick to set up, totally safe while they're being used, and then easy to dismantle without leaving a trace. All right, let's jump into our first pillar, scaffolding. This is the answer to one of the oldest problems in building. How in the world do you safely get workers and all their materials where they need to go when you're building, dozens of stories high? Okay, let's nail this down. Because if you see this pop up on a test, you're going to need a really crisp definition. So what exactly is scaffolding?
And there it is, the textbook definition. But the key thing to remember is its dual purpose. It's a safe platform for the workers, right? But it's also a dedicated space for their materials. It's basically the temporary skeleton on the outside of a building that lets all the real work happen, no matter how high up you go.
And what's so cool about scaffolding is how it takes just 3 simple parts to create this incredibly strong structure. You've got your standards, those are the vertical poles. Then you have the ledgers, which run horizontally, parallel to the wall. And the secret sauce is the braces, the diagonal pieces that stop the whole thing from swaying. It's just simple geometry, really, but it creates a ridiculously powerful support system. All right, so we've got the workers supported. Now let's talk about how we actually shape the building itself. This brings us to our second pillar, formwork. And this is all about taming one of the most powerful and kind of unruly materials in construction, concrete. Just think about it for a second. Concrete starts out as this heavy, wet, goopy liquid. So how do you get it to form a perfect wall, or a beam with clean edges, or maybe even a smooth arch? What is holding all that immense weight in just the right shape while it hardens? Well, the answer is formwork. You might also hear people call it shuttering, but its job is super simple. It's a temporary mold. Its entire job is to hold that wet concrete in the precise shape you want until it hardens up and can support itself. After that, you just take it away.
And this is where the real challenge comes in. Formwork has to be incredibly strong. I mean, wet concrete, or green concrete as they call it, is ridiculously heavy and pushes outwards with immense force. So the formwork can't buckle or break, otherwise you've completely lost your shape. It's an amazing piece of precision engineering that a few weeks later just gets taken down and tossed in a truck.
Okay, so far we've been talking about building something totally new. But what happens when the problem is with a building that's already standing? Imagine a wall is starting to bulge, or you need to cut a new doorway into a wall that's holding up the floor above. That is where our third pillar, shoring, becomes absolutely critical. Now, this is another one of those terms that is super important for your exams, so let's make sure we've got the definition down cold. What exactly is shoring? Yup, it really is that simple. The easiest way to think about shoring is like a set of temporary crutches for a building. If a wall or a whole structure is unsafe, unstable, or just needs to be held up while you make changes to it, you use shoring to prop it up and keep everything from collapsing. All right, for our final pillar, we're actually going underground. We've gone up high with scaffolding, we've created shapes with formwork, and we've supported structures from the side with shoring. Now it's time to dig down to the very foundation of a building.
This brings us to our final core concept, and it's all about fixing a building's foundation long after it was first built. The process is called underpinning. So what exactly does that involve?
The most important word to lock onto here is existing. Underpinning is not about creating a new foundation. It's the whole process of strengthening or repairing a foundation that's already there, maybe because it's starting to fail or because the building needs to support more weight. You're literally giving the building a stronger base to stand on.
from below. Okay, we've gone through the 4 big pillars. We know what they do. Now, let's get practical. Let's talk about how this all connects directly to your exam. It's time to get tactical.
Get this, the textbook literally gives you the answers to the test. Right at the end of the chapter, it has a section called Exam Question Solution, and it points you right to 3 sections: scaffolding, shoring, and underpinning. See what's missing? Formwork. So yeah, you need to know what it is, but these other 3, they're your top priority for studying.
So, here's your first likely question. And notice it's got 2 parts. First, define it. We've got that covered. Second, describe the types with sketches. This part is huge. The examiners want to see that you can actually draw the different systems, like single versus double scaffolding. So practice drawing some simple, clear diagrams.
And look, it's the exact same pattern for shoring. Again, definition first, then the different types with neat sketches. And this isn't about being an artist. It's about being clear. Your drawings need to have labels on the parts and show exactly how that shoring system is supporting the structure.
Now, the question on underpinning, this one goes a step further. It's not just define and illustrate types. It asks you to describe the procedure. This is probably the most complex one. You'll need to be able to walk someone through the step-by-step process of how underpinning is done safely. Look, to keep it all straight in your head, here is the absolute core of this chapter on one slide. Scaffolding, it's a platform for people. Formwork, it's a mold for concrete. Shoring, it's a prop for an unsafe building. And underpinning, it's a fix for an existing foundation. If you can burn these 4 distinct purposes into your brain, you are well on your way to acing this.
So, there you have it. These hidden structures are the real heroes of construction, right? They make the impossible possible, and then they just fade away. It's a perfect example of how the most critical support systems are often the ones we never even see, which leaves me with a final thought. Beyond buildings, what other essential, invisible systems are quietly holding our world together?